Hi everyone, my name is Melody. Today I'm going to talk about memory. There are easy way to look at memory. Memory is the process of encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding is process of putting something inside of people's head, and this is also called sensory memory. Storage is holding the thing inside of people's head, and it is short-term memory. Retrieval is get the thing you have stored back out of your head so you can use it. It is called long-term memory. So first, I'm going to talk about sensory memory, and the second is short-term memory. Third one is long-term memory. And first, I'm going to talk about sensory memory. In order for anything to enter our memory, it must first be picked up by our sense, such as taste, touch, sight, hearing, and smell. And there are only three of those types we have to study. The first one is echoic memory, and the next one is iconic memory, and the last one is haptic memory. And echoic memory is the branch of sensory memory used by the auditory system. Echoic memory is capable of holding a large amount of auditory information, but it only takes for only 3 to 4 seconds. Think back to the last time you heard someone tell you a funny joke. After you finished laughing, you probably either repeat it out loud or at minutes replayed what you just heard over again in your head. Chances are that if you were asked to repeat the joke word immediately after you heard it, assuming it wasn't too long, you would do perfect well. And the next one is iconic memory. Sensory input to the visual system goes into iconic memory, so named because the mental representation for visual stimuli are referred to as icons. Iconic memory has duration of about 100 meters. And there are examples about iconic memory. You waked up at night and you want to get a drink of water, so you go to kitchen and you turn the light on, and suddenly the bulb burns out and leave you in a darkness. But you still can get back of the room you were able to get because of the iconic memory. The next one is haptic memory. Haptic memory is the branch of sensory memory used by the sense of touch. Sensory receptor all over the body detected sensation like pressures, itching, and pain, which are briefly held in haptic memory before vanishing or being transferred to short-term memory. Haptic memory seems to decay after 2 seconds. There are also examples about haptic memory, and think about what a peach feels like. When you recall it in your mind, you can remember the feeling of the fuzzy skin and the softness of the peach. The ability to retain haptic memory develops early in infancy as it is important to feeding. Next one, I'm going to talk about short-term memory. Short-term memory is the information we are currently aware of or think about. The information found in short-term memory comes from pay attention to sensory memory, and short-term memory only lasts about 2 to 30 seconds. I'm going to talk about selective attention memory and chunky memory. Selective attention is purposely focusing your conscious awareness onto a specific stimulus. This means that if you are in a noisy place, such as a party with a lot of people, and you purposely pay attention to the person you are speaking with, and you are engaging in a selective attention. And the next one is chunking. Chunking is a strategy that can be used to improve a person's short-term memory. It involves the reducing long string of information that can be difficult to remember down into short, more manageable chunks. Chunking is a term referring to the process of taking individual pieces of information and grouping them into large units. By grouping each piece into a large whole, you can improve the amount of information you can remember. Also, I have an example about chunking. I think a lot of people have trouble to remember a phone number. So there is an example of how to use chunking to remember a person's phone number. Like there have some numbers of 4, 7, 1, 1, 3, 2, 4, and if we use the chunking way by grouping each piece into a large whole, we can put those numbers into 4, 7, 1 and another group like 1, 3, 4, 2, 4. And this is much more easier to remember a phone number. Then another example of chunking is remember item from a list. Start from a small group. For example, when people go to shopping, and they may bring a shopping list. The shopping may be broken down into a smaller group based on what the item on the list. For example, are vegetable, fruit, or dairy, and so on. And the next one, we're going to talk about long-term memory. Since short-term memory is limited in both capacity and duration, the retention of memory requires transferring the information from short-term story into a long-term memory. How exactly does this take place? There are a few different ways that information can be committed to long-term memory. And chunking is one memorization technique that can facilitate the transfer of information into long-term memory. Rehearsal can also help information make it into long-term memory. For example, when you review for an exam, you study the study guide like once or twice. You may go over your study guide over and over again until the critical information is committed to memory. A long-term memory is anything you remembered that happened more than a few minutes ago. Long-term memory can last for just a few days or for many years. For example, everyone can remember their birthday, and they never forget what day is their birthday. There are two types of long-term memory I'm going to talk about. One of that is declarative memory, and another one is procedural memory. Procedural memory is responsible for knowing how to do things, also known as motor skill. As the name implies, procedural memory stores information on how to perform certain procedures, such as walking, talking, and riding a bike. Devolving into something in your procedural memory does not involve consequence thought. For example, when I was very little, I learned how to swim, and I've been like more than 5 years I didn't swim, but until now I still remember how to swim. I think that's my procedural memory in my life. And although there's another example of procedural memory, like driving. I think almost everyone know how to drive in a car, and they never forget how to drive a car. Driving is our skill and also is a procedural memory, so we won't forget anymore. The next one is declarative memory. Declarative memory consists of facts and events that can be consciously recalled, also known as explicit memory. It is based on the concept that this type memory consists of information that can be explicitly stored and retrieved. Declarative memory differed from procedural memory, which encompasses skills such as the use of objects or movement of the body that are deeply embedded and are performed without being aware. And for example of declarative memory, like the first day of school, and also your first date with your boyfriend or girlfriend, although the first kiss, and a lot of example of some events you cannot forget. Today we talked about memory. We learned sensory memory and short-term memory, long-term memory, and also some advice about improve our memory. And thank you. Bye.